Hey everybody, welcome. This is Doug Mystic Board Game Geek, bringing you another playthrough of a game. This time it's going to be the recently started release of Ghostbusters, the board game, which I have the deluxe edition Mass Hysteria version. So if you're following along with the Kickstarter, you'd know what that is. If not, it basically means that it was the version that had some more stuff in it. Anyway, we're going to start with this video. We're going to do the rules setup overview, but to show you some of the cool miniatures that you won't see in the gameplay for this particular event. And we're going to play through the very first scenario, and I'm going to talk about that too, the first part of the campaign, and go over how everything works. So let's jump right in and get right to it. We're going to start with talking about the setup. So what you see in front of you here is the setup for the game. Now, this game, like some other games, when you play, you're always going to be playing for Ghostbusters. It's designed to always have four. So if you're playing with two characters, two players, each person will control two characters. If you're playing with three, then you have to have an odd person control an extra character, or you control like a community character or something along those lines. But you always have to play with four. And the board setup is very specific to the scenario. So we are going to, when you're setting up the board, there's a couple things that you have to look at. First is the board tiles and layout. And if you look at the scenario, first one, this is Campaign 1, the Slimer situation. I'm going to show you the back side of that scenario card first, because it shows you the board setup and the map key. So I'm going to put that up on screen so you can see. You notice that there's two portions. There's the spirit world and the map key. On the spirit world, it tells you how many ghosts that you're going to put into the spirit world here. Now, if ever the spirit world empties out and you have to place another ghost from the spirit world and you can't, that's one of the lose conditions. So you can see there's still quite a few of the ghosties in here of various kinds. There's three types, 1, 2s, and 3s, and I'll go over what they are. There's the galloping ghouls, the gruesome twosome, and the boogaloo manifestation. That's a boogaloo right there. Anyway, those are that is the first part of the setup. You make sure you fill the spirit world, and then you're going to populate the board per the scenario card that's shown there. You can see up in the top corner where the Ecto 1 is started, and you can see the tiles are very specifically laid out. And one of the things I do like about the tiles is because of the placement of where the letters are, you can easily figure out where the tiles are supposed to go in the facing that they're on. So that's kind of nice. And this one, we're going to do a basic. It's the very first scenario. It's very basic. It's not very difficult. I played through this before. In fact, I played this whole campaign at BGG Con, and I have to admit it was fun, but it wasn't tremendously challenging. It could have just been good luck. We're going to find out. Okay, anyway, the campaign itself. It says, we're going to flip it over to the front side of the campaign card. It says Campaign 1, the Slimer situation. And I'll read that for you. It says, sightings have been reported all over the city. Your old friend Slimer is backing up to no good. He's proving hard to track down, but clearing some sections of the city of spectral disturbances will help you corner him eventually. This campaign takes place over a series of 4 linked scenarios. Do not reset your experience between scenarios, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. You will need all the experience you can muster to trap Slimer at the end of the campaign. That is true. That was the only part of it that gave us any real heartburn as far as difficulty. The Slimer situation campaign scenario 1. Now this is specific to this scenario. It says the gates in the area are causing your traps to malfunction. You better manage these phantom felons before they escape. Make sure your traps are in good working order now before you move on. The gates in this scenario are nicknamed release gates, as they are able to rescue trapped ghosts from your clutches. And then you'll see a couple of quadrants of special rules, and it shows what the release gate does. First off, to hit it with a stream, from the proton pack, you have to roll a 4 or better. Your ability to hit actually has nothing to do with your character's skills. I mean, some of them might have skills that give you a bonus, but only the 4 main ones don't. Okay, then to close it, it requires 2 streams. So to close any one of these gates, it requires 2 streams. And what makes this one special is the when missed portion. It says when missed, a ghost from the spirit world emerges from that gate. So if you miss it, a new ghost comes out. And then it says scenario results. Success, you close each of the open gates. We have 3 in this scenario. A ghost must emerge from the spirit world and none are present. That is the failure condition, as the failure condition of a lot of the scenarios, or at least one of them. This is when rolling the event die and that gate is open, a ghost from the spirit world emerges from the gate. Or if it's closed, each Ghostbuster carrying one or more trapped ghosts loses one of them and emerges from that, the lowest class first, emerges from that Ghostbuster's space. So, yeah, basically it just pops out and comes back at you. That's the scenario that we're going to be playing. And as you can see, I have the map set up already for you. You can see that I've placed out the, if you look on the scenario card, you can see that the ones are the lowly galloping ghoulies, like this one here. He is next to this gate. Now the gates I've put out randomly. Each one has a symbol on it that corresponds to a special die. It's the chaos die. This is it here. You can see there's the symbol for that gate. There's symbols for other gates, and then there's the chaos symbol, which makes all the ghosts go crazy. That is not a good thing we want to have happen. Okay, that's the setup of the scenario. So you can see our 3 gates are placed out randomly. We have 2 closed gates per the scenario there. And again, those closed gates are still effective for the closed gate scenario, because you can see that even the closed gates still have their symbol on them and can still be rolled. So they can cause us some grief. Now, let's first take a look at the monsters, because the ghosts rather, because they have some interesting abilities. We're going to finalize this with looking at our characters and then looking at the order of play. First off, I'm just going to tilt it over here. You can see that we have the Ecto-1 and all 4 of our main characters. Spengler, Venkman, Stantz, and Zetamore are already in it. And they will be appearing right here at the vehicle over there. That's the Ecto-1. It can move, and we'll talk about that later. But again, let's first go to the ghosts. So here are our 3 culprits for this scenario. The Galloping Ghouls, the Gruesome Twosome, and the Boogaloo Manifestation. First, we're going to look at the Galloping Ghouls. I'm going to put that up on screen for you. I'm going to read some stuff. So you can see that to hit a Galloping Ghoul, you need to roll 3 or higher with a stream. It only requires 1 stream to trap them. So when you hit them, they get trapped. And you can see when hit, there's conditions. I actually like the AI in this, the way it works. It's pretty good. When hit, it says see when trapped, because they're automatically trapped. They only require 1 stream. And this is when trapped. Each Ghostbuster adjacent to this Galloping Ghoul gets slimed, and I'll explain what that means later. Slime is a big deal in the game. Then place it on your character card. Yes, you collect them because you are trapping them, and you have to turn them in at the Ecto-1. But there's also somebody has a special ability to turn in more and get experience from those. And I'll show you that in a minute. When missed, you move 2 spaces in a random direction. So when you miss them, they just kind of scatter. And you can see that it shows on the card, shows the missed 2 spaces. Now how you determine that, I'll show you in a bit as well. And then there's a special. When 2 Galloping Ghouls occupy the same space, remove both from the scenario, and then 1 ghost from outside the scenario, that means not out of the spirit world, with the next highest class enters the space. And what that means is a Galloping Ghoul is going to turn into a Gruesome Twosome. And that gets troublesome for us as time goes on. So then let's take a look at the Gruesome Twosome. It says 2 hit or higher, you need 4. It requires 2 streams to capture 1. And I'll show you how that works. There's these rings that you put around the ghosts that are the streams that are, it's pretty neat. Anyway, when you hit them, when hit, moves 1 space towards the Ghostbuster. Now, the reason it says that is because it takes 2 streams to trap them, so you're going to at least have to shoot them twice. When trapped, place it on your character card. When missed, move 1 space toward that Ghostbuster, then move 1 space in a random direction. So, as you can see on the little card, it shows you its hit and miss movement, and then it also has a special. When 2 Gruesome Twosomes occupy the same space, remove both from the scenario, and then 1 goes from outside the scenario with the next highest class enters that space, and that would be the Boogaloo Manifestation. So we'll just talk about them next. Okay, Boogaloo Manifestation. It says 2 hit. This is a class 3 ghost. It says 2 hit on a 4 or higher. Add a stream. Needs 3 streams to trap it, and when hit, it moves 1 space toward the Ghostbuster. When trapped, you place it on your character card. When missed, move 2 spaces toward the Ghostbuster, then move 1 space in a random direction. So it moves very much like the Gruesome Twosome. However, it also has a special. After missed movement, slime in 4 directions based on the movement die roll result. So there's a card that I'll show you that helps to show the direction of things like this. So basically, after it's been missed and it moves its 2 spaces toward the Ghostbuster, it's going to slime some hexes. Now, let's talk about the story elements behind these. The Galloping Ghouls, there's a story to each of these, and I'll just read them quickly to you. This is again, this guy here. It says the Galloping Ghoul, this class 1 ectoplasmic ghost often appears during a significant surge in psychokinetic energy. They can be harbingers of potentially calamitous paranormal events. Skittish and unpredictable by nature, simple application of a proton stream is usually effective. However, upon impact of positively charged ions, ectoplasm is dispersed in all directions. Keep safe distance while engaging. We're not going to do that. We're not going to be safe about that, and I'll tell you why. Then we have the gruesome twosome. These Class 2 manifestations are significantly more aggressive than their Class 1 counterparts. They have a strong hold on our plane of existence and are able to manipulate and pass through physical matter. That's bad. Positively charged ions from proton packs are usually effective. Once engaged, they will usually not flee. That's because they are tougher. And then the Boogaloo manifestation, this bad boy right here, says Boogaloo was the leader of thousands of demons that terrorized the earth 2,000 years ago. A deal was struck between Boogaloo and a group of druids. Boogaloo and the worst of his demons would go off to the netherworld on the condition that they were remembered, which led to the celebration of Halloween. A loophole was found in which Boogaloo could send manifestations of itself back to Earth in order to wreak some havoc on his old stomping grounds. So those are the three things that we're going to face in this scenario. And there are many, many others. In fact, they lead all the way up to some cool stuff, and I'll show you those as we get ready to play. I'll just show you some of the miniatures you won't see in the game. Okay, now we're going to take a look at our character cards. And the first up we have Spangler. Now, Spangler is, now you see that across the bottom there is an experience track. So they do gain experience, as you noticed on the scenario. It says about gaining experience, and they can level up. So Spangler, his first ability is when you roll a 1 on a proton roll, you gain an experience. Now, if you re-roll, you don't get that. It counts only on the final results. Okay. When he levels up, it says once during your turn you may re-roll a failed proton roll. That's level 2. Level 3, and that's most people's level 3 is an extra action. Level 4, when you hit a ghost, roll 2 proton dice during the next combat action this turn and choose one. All Ghostbusters in 5th level, all Ghostbusters may re-roll 1s on the proton dice once per combat. Pretty good ability. And then we got, who was my favorite when we did the playthrough, when we played the scenario at BGG Con, it was Venkman. It says when a ghost slimes on your turn you gain 1 experience. So when he attacks something and slimes him, he gets experience for that, and that's how he levels up. This is level 2. Once during your turn, if an adjacent Ghostbuster would get slimed, you can swap spaces with that Ghostbuster, and you get slimed instead. So Venkman tends to get slimed a lot. Of course, his 3rd level bonus is he gets +1 action. And then 4th level, when you hit a ghost with a 6, you may take a free combat action against it. That means you get to attack it again if you want to. And then 5th, all Ghostbusters line of sight increases by 1 space. I'll tell you what that means when we're playing. And then last is Winston Zeddemore. Level 1 ability for every 3 combined ghost classes you deposit at a time, gain 1 experience. So if he has a level 2, which is the Gruesome Twosome, and a Galloping Ghoul, and he's trapped them both in turns of in, he gets an experience point. So we tend to want to give all of the trapped ghosts to Zed. Then his 2nd level ability, once during your turn, you may take a free deposit trapped ghost action. That means he can do it without having to use an action. I'll explain that in a bit. Okay, then and he can deposit into space within line of sight, so he doesn't have to be right next to the Ecto one to deposit, which all the other players do. Gets +1 action at 3rd level. 4th level, when you hit a ghost, you may take a free move action. And then 5th level, all Ghostbusters move actions are increased by 1 space. By the way, there are other characters in the game. I'm not going to go, I'll just show them, but I'm not going to go over all of their abilities. Then last but not least, I'll show you how the turn works. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some of the other characters you have. You have Melnitz, who you remember from the show. She's one of the characters. You have Griffin. And these are from the cartoon. I didn't really follow the cartoon that much, but these are apparently Ghostbusters that came along later. Ortiz, Alexander, and the Rookie. So those are some other characters that came in the game. And then I just want to show you, before we move on to the turn order, I'll show you some other miniatures. This is, of course, the very recognizable Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Looks pretty good on the table. He's awesome. And then, I mean, what is a game about ghosts and dead crazy things without Cthulhu? So this is this game's version of Cthulhu. And then these are the big baddies that you might face. And then this is the big Boogaloo if he comes out. And you can see that he's not little on the table. He takes up quite a bit of space. Then, of course, we have the two... this see if I can get them out of the pack. There we go. You know, Zool and the other one, the two dogs, dog demons. There's one for each. And then last but not least, we also have, and there's some other miniatures that you can get with the game. I guess I didn't get them, or I haven't gotten them yet. I'm not sure which. These are these manifestations of nasty toilets. Yeah, and we're not going to see them in this scenario either. Okay, now let's go over the turn order. It's really, really simple, actually. You have basically 2 actions per turn. And in the third level, you saw that you get an extra action to give you 3. During a turn action, you basically have a couple things you can do. You can move 1 or 2 spaces. So I can be here and go 1, 2, or just 1, and maybe that's where as far as I want to go. Now you do see that there are lines. This red line means that you cannot, well, that's an orange line. I think that means that you can see through it. I got to remember, you can't see through it, but you can move through it. I'll have to look up. One thing I didn't like is there's no reference sheet for the terrain effects, and there's several of them. There's these yellow ones that are mist, and you can't shoot through them, but you can move through them. Then there's red that you can't move or shoot through. And I think that the orange is you can't shoot through them, but you can move through them. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't remember. Anyway, they have different effects. So you can move. Well, for instance, see this this gate here. You can't. I don't know. Clearly you can see it, but this fence here is a red. It's red all the way here. So you have to go clearly around it to get around it. You can't go through it or shoot through it. And that's move 1 or 2. And then you can drive the Ecto-1. Now, you can move that up to 6 spaces. It's got some rules. And again, nothing works diagonally. You can't move. Well, with the Ecto-1, you have to move orthogonally. So you'd have to go like 1, and you're always doing it by the lead car, so it can move 6, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can move all the way to here and then stop, and then people can pile out. The only one that took an action was the person driving it. Okay, and then you can deposit a trap ghost. So to deposit a trap ghost, you have to be right next to the Ecto-1, and then you can deposit a ghost in there. Unless you're Zed, he's gained some levels, and he can do it from line of sight, which I'll explain about that a little more in a minute, even though I did talk about some of the line of sight rules with the terrain effects. Then you can remove slime from an adjacent Ghostbuster. That takes 1 action. Because if you do it yourself, it takes your entire turn. So if you don't have any way to get rid of the slime and you're out of actions, you're going to spend your whole turn just getting rid of 1 slime token. And the slime tokens basically look like this. Slime token. You just put them on your character sheet. And for each one, you lose an action. Okay, those are the main. And then of course, combat. You can shoot at a ghost with your proton pack. And then there's a couple things called maneuvers. They're things that don't take actions. For instance, entering and exiting. So if I'm standing adjacent to the Ecto-1, I can enter it, and I can exit it. There's a few more rules around that you might see in there. And then also another maneuver is you can transfer trap ghosts with an adjacent Ghostbuster. That does not mean transfer them and get rid of them into the Ecto-1, but if Venkman is standing next to Zeddemore, and he wants to transfer him to Zeddemore so he can transfer him in here, that is not an action. He can transfer them all immediately on his turn. And then, of course, like I said, there's removing slime from yourself. And that, if you do that on your own, it takes a whole action, your entire turn. Now, line of sight. Line of sight works in a couple of ways. The terrain does have an effect. So I think right up here, maybe you can see it. There's this yellow mist. That means you can't see through it. The yellow line there means you can't see through it, but you can move through it. And that's the same with these bushes right here. You can see through them, and you can move through them, but you can't see through them to shoot. And line of sight is three spaces. So if I'm here, I can go 1, 2, 3. I can see him just fine. There's nothing blocking my view. However, if I'm here, I can't see. I can see him, but I cannot see him through the yellow line. In addition, red lines block everything. So if I'm here, though, I can see everybody here, but I can't see anything here. And again, I can shoot 3 spaces. So I could be here and get him, and actually here I can get him. Now, line of sight, you draw from one corner to the corner of the creature, and if it doesn't touch any obstructions, then you can take action on it. Got to make sure I didn't move any of my ghosts in the wrong place now. Nope, that's right. Okay, and then last but not least, I think that's really it. I think it's time to just get going and get started. So let's take our first turn. This is going to be a slightly long video, so I'm not going to take a whole bunch of turns, but you'll get to see how that goes. All of our Ghostbusters are going to go first. Then we're going to have a roll that's not cool, and then we'll see. I think I might rearrange who goes first I'm going to keep them in the same pattern for the turn. I want Venkman to go before Stance, because Stance can remove slime, and he does. Okay, I have it set up right. So Venkman goes and gets slime, then Stance moves up and removes the slime from him, and they gain experience that way. But let's get going. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with Spangler. He's up and he's orange. Now he's driving the. I moved their figures around, so he's driving the Ecto-1. And basically, we're going to get further down the board because we can't do anything here until we're getting in the line of sight. So basically, I also want to be sure not to be too close to these ghosts, because we're going to get out and take them out. But if they pass through the Ecto-1, that's another thing I didn't tell you. If a ghost passes through you, you get slimed. So, but if it passes through the Ecto-1 actually and moves on to the space past it, everybody in there gets slimed. So we got to make sure we get out. Anyway, so for his first action, Spangler is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he's going to end right here. Then for his second action, now remember it's a free action to step out, so he's going to step out of his car. And then for his third action, he's going to take a shot with his proton pack at this galloping ghoul right here. Now remember, they need a 3 to hit, and Spangler's going to roll 1 die to make that happen. See if he can do it. All right, come on, Spangler. Look, I got this special. That's a 6, by the way. There's the 1, so that's the 6. Let's see what he gets. A 1. Well, he missed. So he stepped outside and shot his proton pack and missed the ghost that was there. Now let's continue on. If you recall, the ghosts, when they're missed, they have a miss condition. So the galloping ghouls, when missed, move 2 spaces in a random direction. I'm going to show you how that works right now. As you can see, we got this little board here, and it's facing north for me always. And we're going to roll an 8-sided die, and that's going to determine the direction of the move of that ghost, of the galloping ghoul. So he's going to move in a 3, so he's going to move at an angle towards the characters. I'll show you what that looks like. So he's going to move 1, 2, which isn't the best, because they can't exit if the spaces are blocked. So there's only 1 exit space left for them. Now they can all pile out that same exit, but that means they're going to have to move, and that's not great. That wasn't exactly how I wanted my first turn to go. But that's where he moved to, and that was the end of Spangler's turn. So now we're going to move on to Venkman. Venkman's going to get out here. He'll move, that's free, remember, so he'll move 1, 2 to here, and he's going to shoot that one. So let's go back and see if he can rope himself a galloping ghoul. Okay, here we go. Remember, he needs a 3 or better. Another one. I'm off to a good start, guys. Here we go. Man, what happened? What other game did I have this wonderful luck in? Anyway, he missed, so we're going to have to move that galloping ghoul on the miss scenario, and so we'll just get this out right here. I'll write the dice pool and roll. He's going to move an 8, so he's going to move... Oh, man. Oh, this is interesting. Let me show you what happens now. So ghosts can pass through players. So you can see the Spangler's right here. So this ghost is going to move 1, 2 in this direction. And that's what it says. When missed, move 2 spaces in a random direction. I rolled an 8, which you can see is going to take him in this direction. So what happens now is we have to take one of these slime tokens and put it on Spangler, which is not a good thing. But it does give us the ability to get out of the car on this side. So next up is Stance, and he is yellow. Here is Stance's miniature. Pretty cool. He's going to get out right here. He'll move 1 to here, and he's going to remove the slime from Spangler, which means this goes away. You think, wow, that was pretty quick. What does that do for you? Well, for him, you know, for Stance, it does a lot. I'm not going to hold this card up because I want you to see it instead of just a picture of it. See what I'm going to do. So he says when you spend an action to remove slime from the Ghostbuster, gain 1 experience. Well, he just did that. So he is the first one on the experience table. Nice. All right, now we got Zeddemore. He's the last one out of the car. I think he's going to step out on this side, move to here, and he's going to shoot that ghost right there. Let's hope we have some better luck with Zed. All right, let's hope our luck holds out, gives us something good, or our luck gets better, actually. It's been terrible. A 6, well, that does it. So let me show you what happens now. Now keep in mind, when you hit one of these galloping ghouls, it splatters slime in every direction. However, there's no one in an adjacent square, and nobody's in the Ecto-1, so that's fine. So we're just going to take this lovely little dude, and it's going to go on Zed's character sheet, like so. Boom. Okay, that was all the characters. Now we have something even more terrible we have to do. We have to roll this lovely die. This is glow-in-the-dark dice, by the way. Okay, we have to roll this lovely die and see. I'm just going to move the camera so you make sure you can see it all. And this is going to determine which gate spawns a critter. And it's going to be the square gate, which is actually active. Here it is. You can see it's way down from the other players. And so when you want to know what a gate does, you basically look on the scenario card. And these are the release gates, remember. It says when rolling the event die and that gate is open, which it is, a ghost from the spirit world emerges from the gate. Now it's always going to be the lowest class of spirit that comes out that's available. So right now we still have a bunch of these little galloping ghouls. So here's a galloping ghoul right here, and he's going to come out in a random direction. So let's go back to the dice bowl. I'm going to put him on the gate right now. We're going to go back to the dice bowl and roll to see which direction he comes out in. Okay, let's see. 6, so he's going to come straight south, you can see, out of the gate, which means he spawns right here. Now you see the importance of getting the critters into the gates because they got to go back to the spirit world. When we deposit them, they go back in here, and this is one of our trigger mechanisms for winning and losing. We don't want that. That is for sure. You know, I think I'm going to take a picture of this, and so I can just put it on screen instead of having to move it around all the time. That would make it easier for you guys to see, and then I don't have to bounce back and forth. Alright guys, that was our first turn. As you can see, it's a pretty fast-playing game. It's not heavily involved, but there's more to it as it goes. And again, we haven't had to deal with any particular line of sight or anything like that, which we will as we move along. And we'll be facing some of the tougher ghosts there on the board, etc. So that is turn 1, and that's going to end this episode. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. By the way, I will not be playing the Ghostbusters theme during this video because I don't know if it's copyrighted or not, and I don't want to get any trouble. So we're going to leave that alone and move forward. By the way, yes, I've been procrastinating. I still have to draw the winner for my giveaway box. But when I came home from BGG-Con, I did a whole bunch of reorganizing of my game shelves and everything. Man, I got to get rid of some games. Anyway, I got too many games these days. So anyway, but that's the end of this episode. And again, I appreciate you watching and subscribing. I appreciate all your support. I hope you enjoy this playthrough as we're just getting underway. And we're going to play the first scenario of the campaign. And if you guys really, really like that, maybe we'll go on and play the second or third one as well. There's 4 total in the campaign for this one. Now, also, you'll notice that now that we've gone through the rules, this is going to go much faster. These turns do go rather quickly. It doesn't get much more complicated unless we roll the chaos dice and the ghosts all go crazy on us. But anyway, I'm going to get this uploaded and get this to you so you can all see it. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.